Anybody you talk to about Islam says this kid is the next world champion. This kid is the next Khabib.
Oh, big left hand. That's it. Wow.
Islam Makhachev.
Hey guys, you can run, but you can't hide. I'm coming, I'm here.
Gets him with the knee, and he hurts him bad. Almost trying to recover.
Hey fight fans, welcome to our YouTube channel. Hope you're doing good. Today we'll be talking about a fighter who has been mentioned by many as the next great mixed martial artist coming from the mountains of Dagestan. Prodigy of Khabib, Islam Makhachev. Coming from the Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov School of Fighters, Islam has been seen as the one to carry the torch of Khabib as the next UFC lightweight champion of Russia. But what was Makhachev like growing up? What does he bring to the table as a martial artist, and why is he seen as the successor to Khabib by many? Let's find out. Number 5. Makhachev was born in Makhachev, Russia. He lived in a village called Bershi and has practiced martial arts from a young age. Initially, he was into Combat Sambo and used to train with other fighters in the gym in Dagestan. Among those fighters was his close friend, former UFC champion Khabib Nurmagomedov, with whom he used to train a lot. Makhachev recalls, Khabib used to live next door and we would go to the same school and gym together, so that's how we became friends. Islam was one of the favorite students of Khabib's father, as he always saw a lot of discipline in Islam. Discipline was the most necessary element a fighter needed to have in order to be trained by Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, which Islam possessed a lot of. He and Khabib, under the tutelage of Abdulmanap, became solid martial artists who were ready to represent their country and city of Dagestan on the big stage. Initially, Makhachev had learned the art of Combat Sambo and became the world's Combat Sambo champion by representing Russia and winning gold in a tournament. After having proven himself as a great Sambo specialist, Abdulmanap fostered his talents to develop Makhachev as a mixed martial artist. Number 4. Makhachev began his MMA career by joining the M1 Global Fight promotion in St. Petersburg, Russia.
Islam Makhachev.
Having a Sambo background, Makhachev was expected to display his good wrestling skills in the promotion. He found his feet in MMA by starting his career with victories over Tengiz Kachua and Barnweed. He would then face Rander Junio in his third fight, which proved to be a competitive fight as Junio also had a strong takedown game similar to Makhachev. The fight was even in the first round, with both giving a good account of their strengths. As the fight went on, Makhachev imposed himself on Junio by taking him down and dominating him on the ground through some ground and pound and submission attempts. At the end of the fight, Makhachev had done enough to win a hard-fought fight via unanimous decision. He would then face Yuri Ivlev, where he put on a pure display of high-quality wrestling and ground game. Makhachev utterly dominated the fight through his smart takedowns and smooth transitions to submission moves. A key feature of his game is his ability to maneuver himself into positions where he could submit his opponent without giving them much time to recover. In his fight against Ivlev, Makhachev was inflicting some heavy ground and pound on his opponent, where in a smart transition, he caught the defending arm of Ivlev and locked in an armbar submission, to which Ivlev tapped out. There was a moment where Makhachev used his intelligence combined with skill to get the victory. As he was quietly racking up these wins, he was also getting the recognition as another strong martial artist coming from the famed Dagestan ranks. You'll be surprised what happened in his next fight. His next fight was against Trusek, who had no answer to Makhachev's wrestling. Makhachev was at his ruthless best on that day, putting in a brilliant display of striking and wrestling, which absolutely stifled Trusek. Makhachev put Trusek in a web of trouble on the ground from which he just couldn't get out of. He put Trusek in a body lock position where the opponent couldn't move freely and also in danger of being caught in a rear naked chokehold from the back by Makhachev, leaving himself completely exposed from all ends. Makhachev put Trusek out of his misery by finishing him with a triangle choke after pounding his opponent, earning a third-round submission victory. That performance earned him a call-up from the UFC to become another fighter to represent Dagestan in the best MMA fight promotion. Number 3. Makhachev signed with the UFC in 2015. Soon after becoming a UFC fighter, Makhachev joined the famous AKA gym in San Jose, where he trained under coach Javier Mendez. The AKA gym was home to many great champions of the UFC past and present, with fighters such as Daniel Cormier, Cain Velasquez, and Luke Rockhold having trained in that gym. Not to forget, his good friend Khabib was also a champion who trained in the AKA Training Center. He developed a great bond with DC as both of them are seen constantly pulling each other's leg during training and outside of it.
Hey, listen, Khabib, wait, listen. Wait. Hey, dude, what are you doing, man?
Makhachev had the good fortune of training with the best names in MMA. Also, the fact that he got to see them train was another bonus for him, as he could take cues as to how these champions went about their stuff in the gym. He won his debut in the lightweight division against Leo Kuntz by submitting him in the second round, thus extending his unbeaten start to his MMA career. Having Coach Abdulmanap and Coach Mendez by his side, things were going according to plan for Makhachev. He would then face Adriano Martins at UFC 192, with many expecting Makhachev to get the job done. But you won't believe what happened, as Makhachev suffered his first defeat at the hands of Martins via TKO when he was caught by the left hand from which he was unable to recover. That was a huge dampener for Makhachev's hopes to break into the top 15. Makhachev bounced back from that loss by facing the likes of Wade and Nick Lentz, defeating them both via unanimous decision. The theme of his victories over those opponents was very similar to his M1 Global days, where he would put his opponents in a stranglehold on the ground, thus making it incredibly difficult for his opponents to get him off of them. The attribute of Makhachev made it incredibly unpleasant for his fighters to deal with. Many fans believed Makhachev was one of those fighters who was extremely good on the ground, but didn't have much to offer on his feet. To be honest, it's a fair assumption, as Makhachev during his M1 days was seen as a high-level grappler and wrestler rather than a top striker, so he had to improve on his striking aspect of his game just a little bit. His next fight was against UFC veteran Gleison Tibau, with many seeing it as Makhachev's first real test since joining the UFC. The fight began, and within 57 seconds of the first round, Makhachev caught Tibau with a straight left which ended up knocking out the veteran. That knockout was a statement to the UFC and the fans that when mattered, he could rely on his striking as well to win fights. That win pushed him into contention for the top 15 in the lightweight division. At that time, both Khabib and Islam were competing in the same division, with Khabib being the champion. We would have loved to see both duel inside the octagon, but Makhachev at that time needed more victories to be seen as a top contender. He would go on a good win streak by defeating a number of top 10 hopefuls by dominating each one of those fighters on the ground. The most impressive and hard-fought victory amongst those was his win over Arman Tsarukyan at UFC Fight Night, where both the fighters served up a wrestling classic for the fans. In fact, Makhachev, who had hugely impressive takedown defense, where he was never taken down by an opponent in his MMA career, was taken down for the first time. Both the fighters traded strikes during stand-up, also slugging it out on the ground. But as the fight went on, Makhachev started establishing control in takedowns and grappling, which ultimately proved to be the difference as the judges ruled a unanimous decision win in Makhachev's favor. After the fight, Makhachev expressed his desire to fight the top guys of the division, asking the UFC on several occasions prior to this fight to match him against someone in the top 10.
Why all these guys run, nobody wanna take this fight. Please give me an answer. Hey guys, you can run, but you can hide. I'm coming, I'm here.
At one point, Makhachev became so tired of his opponents ducking him that he asked the UFC jokingly for a fight against Brock Lesnar and Floyd Mayweather.
I wanna fight with Brock Lesnar. Hey Dana, I want a money fight, give me Mayweather, woo!
Seems like Islam got a little too excited for his own good calling out Lesnar. That fight turned the attention of fans and the UFC on Makhachev, as they now believed that this guy had the tools to have a proper crack at the top guys. When the likelihood of Makhachev being offered fights with the big names in the division increased, several of his fights got canceled, owing to a staph infection he suffered as well as numerous issues with his opponents. The UFC had finally granted Makhachev's desire to face the top dogs in the division by pitting him against former lightweight champ Rafael Dos Anjos at UFC 254. But like mentioned earlier, Dos Anjos had to pull out of the match after being tested positive for COVID. The bout was then rescheduled for a fight night event in November 2020, but that too had to be scrapped due to Makhachev's staph infection. As months passed, it became increasingly difficult for Makhachev to get a fight with the top guns, as many fighters declined the UFC's offer to face him. Well, At one point, Makhachev became the most avoided fighter in the lightweight roster, as it was a nightmare fight for fighters to take because of his skills inside the octagon. After several months had passed since the retirement of his friend Khabib, the lightweight title was left vacant. Later on, the UFC offered him a fight with 14th ranked Drew Dober, which Makhachev accepted. As the fight was made, many expected Makhachev to emerge victorious. That's exactly what happened as he sucked the life out of Dober, constantly ragdolling him inside the cage, as he ultimately finished him with an arm choke. The trend of fighters avoiding Islam continued, but Makhachev never let his focus falter and kept himself active by accepting the fights that the UFC gave him. He was very recently rewarded with his first headliner event in the UFC, Makhachev versus Moises. He fought Moises, who had good wrestling skills of his own, but that wasn't enough as Makhachev dominated the fight and finished it with a rear naked choke in the 4th round. That victory propelled Makhachev into the top 5, ending his long quest to break into that bracket of fighting. Keep watching as we show you the key influences in Makhachev's MMA career.
Number 2.
Makhachev was always seen by fans and his coaches as the heir of Khabib once the Eagle retires from the sport. Both Makhachev and Khabib used to train together in the gyms in Dagestan and in AKA during their fight camps, and both knew each other's strengths and also helped each other in developing them. Khabib's father, Abdulmanap, always thought highly of Islam's ability as a martial artist. Not to forget his coach Javier Mendez, Islam says that both Javier and Abdulmanap placed high emphasis on improving a fighter's strong points rather than focusing on implementing new things in his game. In other words, if a fighter is skilled at wrestling, they would rather improve that aspect of his game first, then focus on tidying the other parts of his game, without ignoring the development of that key skill in a fighter. Khabib's father always had a vision for Islam, which was when Khabib would achieve the goal of retiring undefeated as a champion from the sport, Islam would be the next to take over and become the next lightweight champion. A belief which is also echoed by his son Khabib, saying, "Now is the time of Islam to become champion and show the world who Islam Makhachev is, not only Khabib's brother. No, he has to be his own. Islam Makhachev, best in the world, 8-fight win streak. He beat everyone. That guy has to fight for the title not because he is my brother or friend or something like this, because he is very good." Islam, being Abdulmanap's favorite student, is well on his way to achieving that goal as he stands 5th in the lightweight rankings currently. Fun fact, Islam Makhachev is obsessed with riding bikes and horses. When he is not training, he spends most of his time by riding his collection of bikes at extreme speeds or a stable of horses. Recently, in an interview, Khabib jokingly suggested that he has become more focused in these hobbies than training.
Number 1.
Makhachev currently is ranked 5th in the lightweight rankings, with a fight against number 7 ranked Dos Anjos to look forward to at UFC 267. Currently, it would be safe to say that Makhachev would be the favorite going into the fight, but a fight with Dos Anjos is never easy, so it has all the makings of an exciting fight. Considering Makhachev wins that fight, he would most certainly face a fighter from the top 5, with a win against any one of those earning him a title shot. If you were to face the winner of the Oliveira versus Poirier title fight, which is most likely going to happen by the end of this year or the start of next year, Makhachev should fancy his chances against either one of them. A fight against Oliveira would be a classic battle between 2 expert submission specialists.
Down, Charles Duprox Oliveira.
Whereas a fight with Poirier would be a good battle between fighters who have largely different fighting styles. Makhachev already has a vote of confidence from his brother Khabib, where he affirmed on an interview with ESPN recently that if Islam faces Charles, he will maul him. If it is Dustin, he can defeat him as well. Islam will become champion by 2021. By the looks of things, it would take a brave man to bet against Makhachev winning the title in the near future, as he inches closer to the vision set by his late coach Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, which is to become the next UFC lightweight champion from the mountains of Dagestan. And by this, we have come to the end of our video today. But before we leave, we would like to know, is Islam Makhachev the next lightweight champion in the making? Is he capable of matching the feats of his friend Khabib Nurmagomedov in the lightweight division? And how does he compare with other contenders in the lightweight division? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our channels. Until next time.